John is the gospel writer that has a lot of material, especially on essentially the last 72 hours of Jesus' life. From here on in, John 13, we are now at the Passover. So this would be in Lenten time. It would be called Maundy Thursday. And we get some material that none of the other gospel writers have. Matthew, Mark, and Luke really focus a lot on the instituting of the Lord's Supper and how Jesus changed the concept of the Passover. John, some people theorize because that was already covered well, he doesn't cover anything on that. Instead, he covers a lot of the teachings. So these are called the upper room discourses. So he's going to teach a lot. And we get very little of this in Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So we're thankful that John has a lot of information, because without it, we would not know anything about this. Jesus washing his disciples' feet is a relatively popular, well-known story. But what happens in the middle of it is really important. And it's going to teach us a lesson I know you just don't like. I don't like it either. And that's asking the question about what's beneath you. I know that we can't say it out loud. I know that we're not supposed to say things like this. But there are times that we think that we are more important, that there's certain things that are beneath us. I'll never forget on Vicarage, it's a Saturday, and I was scrambling a little bit. It was a busy week. I'm preaching on that Sunday, so Saturday I'm in my office and I'm working hard. And also on that day, it was a work party at the church. And so a bunch of people were there. They were doing a bunch of cleaning, mowing of lawns, painting, just making things look nice. And I was like, well, which is more important? Doing like work party work or getting ready to preach the holy gospel of the Lord? So I'm sitting there in my office, and then all of a sudden I hear, Vicar? I'm like, oh, yes. Vicar, do you know there's a work party going on? I go, yes, Pastor, yes, I'm a little behind on my work, and I think that I need this time. He goes, Vicar, there's a work party going on. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm prepping for the sermon. Vicar, there's a work party going on. And I go, okay, I feel a little bit like Peter, like Jesus, Peter, do you love me? And that's asked 3 times. So I'm like, okay, I get it. And I remember going out and did the work party, and it was great. And I found out a bunch of things that sometimes I think that the work that I do can make me feel like I'm more important than I am. I was able to make connections with people that I would otherwise not make connections with, to actually talk to people while they're actually doing work. It was one of the greatest things, and I'll never forget that. And since that time, every time we've had a work party here, I'm always there because it's just a whole lot of fun. Do you feel that way, that there are certain things that are beneath you that you really don't need to do? Years ago, Searchlight also, when we were at a location, St. Mark's in Anaheim, we started it at the 5247 Orangethorpe, at the retail strip mall. We actually had a group of people. They were called the DVTs, the Directors of Vacuums and Toilets. This was, Bob was a DVT, yeah. We all took our turns with the DVTs because we had to clean some stuff up. I will never forget, when we were at the St. Mark's facility, we were walking by, Heather and I were walking by, and someone had gotten sick in I think it was the women's bathroom, and then the water fountain. And I walk by and I look at this water fountain, and it is just like the chunks could not make it through the. And I'm like, well, I'm the pastor. Do I need to clean this up? And then I hear Heather saying, honey, it's worse than the women's bathroom. And we're like, oh. And so Heather and I cleaned up some really nasty stuff. Yeah, we're all getting flashbacks right now. It's terrible. Was that beneath me? Was that something I shouldn't have been doing? This is going to be a lesson on what it means to be humble. This is going to be hard because of the people that Jesus serves. It's really going to be challenging. It doesn't say it in this gospel, but we know from another gospel that a fight broke out at the Passover. It's been an old fight. It actually happened another time that we're certain of, but I think with the disciples, it happened a lot, and that was, who is the most important disciple? Who's the head? Who's the leader, right? And Peter, James, and John, they were up on the Mount of Transfiguration. They got to see Moses and Elijah, and Jesus was all transfigured before them. And so when they're coming down, they're like, man, Jesus chose us. We're kind of special. And so a fight broke out between them. And they started arguing about who was the greatest. And the same thing happens here. A fight breaks out. I'm pretty certain it's right before this text. Though John doesn't record it, it fits perfectly within that upper room discourse. John 13:1. It was just before the Passover feast. Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he now showed them the full extent of his love, or another translation, he showed that he loved them to the very end. The evening meal was being served, and the devil had already prompted Judas Iscariot, son of Simon, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that he'd wrapped around him. So for today, underneath each of your seats is a water basin. Please take off your shoes and stick them into the face of the person sitting next to you and say, wash my feet. Now, who right now is getting that little bit of a gag reflex? Like, who here is a footophobia? Right? You're just like, yeah, okay. Only one person. Well, maybe I should have done this. This would have been fantastic. Yeah. Now, who here, out of curiosity, is okay with washing someone else's feet? Okay, all right. Here's maybe even a better question. Who here is okay with someone washing your feet? There's some differences in there, right? That could be challenging. And again, it's a little bit different, but not totally different. Like right now, I've got shoes, I've got socks, I've been wearing them for a couple of hours. It's not super warm today, so my feet aren't as nasty as if I were hiking in Yosemite or working out in the yard, clearing stuff up. After a day of walking or travel, the feet are going to smell. And for Jesus and his disciples, they didn't really experience the closed-toe shoes. They have sandals. They don't have nice pavement. They're probably walking around on dusty trails. And so what would happen is you would come to a meal, and there's a little bit of, some people believe that what Jesus is doing is something extra, but I don't know if it is. It could also just be that they're sitting there, we're getting ready to eat, Jesus gets up and starts washing feet because they're arguing who's the least, because that's how you chose who does the washing. So you have a hierarchy. Clearly, Jesus on top. I think John maybe next, right? Peter, James. Who knows the rest of these people, right? And then down at the bottom, got to get Thomas for some reason. We always give him the short end of the stick. And then, of course, Judas at the lowest. And if there were other people that were there, you just kept passing the job on to other people. I'm sure if it got to the end with the disciples, they're like, who else is around? Is there another Jewish servant? They would be next on the list. Let's get the Jewish servant to come. They're going to wash the feet because I ain't touching your nasty, gross, bunion, toenail, infected, bloody, gross stuff. If there was a Gentile servant, even better, because now we can pass it to someone at the bottom. Jesus gets up, grabs the basin, and starts washing their feet. And if you notice, he doesn't ask them, right? I don't know who's first. I know someone is not first, and that's Peter, because he's about to speak. But I don't know who's first. Like, Jesus grabs his feet, puts them in the water basin. What would the expression on your face be? Probably about as wide-eyed as you can, right? I think Thaddeus, he was probably ticklish, and so as he's washing, he's giggling the whole time. But people are looking at this going, what is going on here? As we do this, I believe there's specifically 2 lessons we're going to learn from this, and I think both are valid. Most pastors only focus on one, but I'm going to focus on 2. Everyone starts, and well, you should. It's all about humility. That you are not greater than anyone else. You are not superior in any way. We are all horrible sinners in need of God's grace and forgiveness. And so sometimes we start feeling how special we are, and we think that applies everywhere. The other thing we're going to focus on is following the pattern that John has been doing. We've noticed this, where there's an action and then a teaching on it, right? Feeding of the 5,000. What's that about? Well, it's about God's provision, but it's about something else, which is the Lord's Supper, eating Jesus' body and drinking Jesus' blood. And so he does a teaching on it. He's about to do another teaching, and I'm just going to tell you what it's about, so as we go through this, the conversation he has with Peter is going to make a whole lot more sense. This foot washing is representative of confession and absolution. So, where are we in our standing with God in a grand scheme? And then where are we in a daily life with Jesus? And you'll see how that plays out, especially in the discussion with Peter and what he's doing. But to start, let's see how he interacts with Peter. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Peter has the title of Master of the Obvious. He's washing the disciples' feet, and then he comes to Peter, and Peter says, "Are you going to wash my feet?" I wish Jesus would have said, "No, I'm skipping over you because you're an idiot, and I'm going to clean everyone else instead." Right? I'm glad that tickled your funny bone, Josh. I was going to have a whole bunch of them, but I'm only going to do one of them. It reminds me of the Jeff Foxworthy things where you have the sign. Here's your sign. Have you ever heard that? Like people, what was that? It wasn't Foxworthy? Oh, okay. So who is it? Bill Engvall. Thank you. See, I always get corrected. It's really wonderful. See, I don't know all pop culture. See, Anna, that's what happens. Yeah, so Bill Engvall, he had this whole thing about called Here's Your Sign. Like people say some of the dumbest things, and so he wants to hand them a sign like, you are stupid, so here's your sign. So he said that, he's driving his car, and one of his tires went flat, so he pulled into the mechanic. The mechanic walks out and goes, "Flat tire?" "Nope, I was just driving along, and the other 3 swelled right up." Here's your sign. I'll give you one more. We got this suit that can withstand shark bites. How are we going to test that? Here's your sign. Put on this suit. It's really fun. So I wanted to hand Peter a sign like, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Here's your sign, Peter. No, instead, Jesus, who is kind and benevolent and much better than me. Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." And this is where he's starting to give the hint that anyone can pick up the concept of humility, right? Everyone. But there's also, again, this teaching. You're not going to understand fully about me being humble and serving you in this way, but you're going to figure out a little bit later on, because I believe he's talking about confession and absolution. "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Peter. I'm just going to tell you, it's never a good idea to say no to Jesus, right? Like, he's washing feet. You're like, "No, don't touch my feet." Because why is he saying that? He has a sense of false pride. It looks like humility, but it's not humility. Because, and I think that's also for a lot of us, right? Like if Jesus were here, how many of you would allow him to serve you? That's a hard thing to do. This is one of those challenges. Everyone's got it. The people, the subset of society that has the most problem with this particular aspect are men. And then there's another subset of society that's even worse, and that's pastors. This is the reason why, you know what, I'm really glad we got GPS now on our phone, because if I'm driving along and for some reason my Thomas guide or my MapQuest, some of you are like, what is he talking about? You just Google those would be great. Or my phone's dead and I'm driving along, I'm not too sure where I'm at. What is Heather going to say? She's going to say, why don't we just stop and ask for directions, right? I mean, we're pretty certain this is the reason why the Israelites wandered for 40 years in the desert. They didn't have a gas station, and it was Moses in charge. And you know Moses' wife the whole time is like, honey, no, it's right up here, I promise you. The mountain's coming up. I'm pretty certain this is it. They're wandering. Why is that? Because men hate to get help from other people. We despise it. We think that we're better. We feel that we can handle things. I continue to find it amazing that sometimes people come to me and they want couples counseling. 99% of the couples that come to me and want couples counseling, it is driven by the female. Because the men are like, why do I need to go to counseling? And I get it, especially when I was, very young and I was doing counseling, and I'd been married for 5 years or something like that. And, people are coming to me and they're like, yes, we're going to come and seek your advice, you young punk, you don't know anything. I'm a little bit older now, so I got a little bit more wisdom, so I get it. But men are like, no, I'm going to figure this out on my own. Then again, the other subset of men are the pastors, because we have a hard time letting people serve us. We don't like it. We're the ones to serve you. We're the ones to help you. We're the ones to give to you. And I will never forget, I don't know who told me this, but I will never forget it as long as I live, that someone told me, when I was trying to I got 3 kids, they're wild and crazy, we have no money, we're trying to make things work, and people are like, here, let me help you. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. And then finally, someone's like, hey, do you realize you are robbing people of the joy of serving you? And I went, what? And they said, do you like to serve other people? I go, yeah, that's what I'm here. I'm called to serve. You're having problems in your marriage? I'm here to help. You're having problems with your finances? Let me pray for you. You're having problems with medical things? I want to pray for you. So let me serve you. And they said, so what would happen if a member of your congregation said to you that they were going through problems, but they didn't want your help? I'd be like, well, that's just dumb. And they're like, okay, so now, there's your sign. Thank you, George. Here's your sign, Pastor Mark. You idiot, you just figured it all out. Yeah. And so, if you are someone who doesn't feel worthy enough to be served by Jesus, you need to just stop and take a breath and say, this was the whole point in him coming. Jesus came to serve. He came to give of himself. And the greatest service he did was giving his life on the cross for us. The greatest act of humiliation, laying down his life for you and me. So if you have a problem with Jesus coming and washing your feet, you might have a problem with him saving you from eternal damnation. We should never look at Jesus and say, no, I don't want your help. Now again, I subset men, subset pastors, but I've met females that have very similar things where they feel like I can't ask for help because that makes me look weak, and I need to be strong, and I need to be capable, and I need to be independent. And I'm telling you right now, none of us are independent, period. We are all dependent upon Jesus Christ. So Peter, you shall never wash my feet. Jesus answered, unless I wash you, you have no part in me. Do you see that? Is he talking about foot washing and food and decorum and humility? I don't think so. He's talking about something else, that we need to be washed. We need to be washed in order to have a part in salvation. As we sang with Rock of Ages, foul I to the fountain fly, wash me, Savior, or I die. We need to be cleansed by Jesus. We need to be washed. And we need to be able to be okay with this idea that the God of the universe came down in human form in order to love you to his final breath, to the last. You would think by now, maybe Peter, here's a clue, Peter. Why don't you just let Jesus let him do his thing? And maybe also, let's not order Jesus around, right? You're never going to wash me. Well, if I don't wash you, you have no part in me. So you think at this point, Peter, I'm sure the other disciples like, hey, don't make Jesus mad. Let's just chill out. But no, Peter has to say some more. What does Peter say then? Then, Lord, Simon Peter replied, not just but my feet, but my hands and my head as well. Okay, Jesus, I want the full thing. Like, you're going to wash the feet, you're going to wash my hands, you're going to wash my head. Do you have any conditioner for my hair? Do you have that good shampoo and body wash that will make me smell good afterwards? Like, just the whole thing. And again, probably not a good idea to tell Jesus what to do. Just saying. And so that's why then Jesus gives another teaching, which again, it doesn't sound like it's about humility, which this story is about humility and making sure that we don't think that no one is beneath us, but it's also about this confession absolution. Jesus answered, a person who has had a bath needs only to wash his feet. His whole body is clean, and you are clean, though not every one of you. For he knew who was going to betray him, and this was why he said not every one of you was clean. He's telling him, look, Simon Peter, you're clean. The problem is you got some really nasty feet, and you need to make sure that that is something that you are addressing. Do you see how this fits perfectly with confession and absolution? For anyone who says, I believe that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, he died on the cross, he rose again on the third day, and he has forgiven me all of my sins, that we are now clean. Our bodies have been clean. It's often then brought in with the rite of baptism, where we say baptism is a washing that has cleansed us, and we are now clean in the sight of God. But the problem is we still live in this world, and this world is really nasty and gross. So as we walk around, our feet are going to get dirty. And so we need to keep coming back to God and saying, God, I need to be washed again. I need some cleansing. I need some help. I'm really struggling with this. I'm really struggling with this sin. I'm really struggling with these thoughts. I'm really struggling with these passions. And I know they're not from you. So Lord, clean me. I need the forgiveness of sins. And then this is something that he gave to the church. Isn't that amazing? Jesus said it himself, that if you forgive the sins of other people, they are forgiven. That means you and I have the privilege of washing people's feet. Not just literally in a humble sense in serving other people, but in the confession and absolution, giving the forgiveness of sins to people who have wronged us. It is one of those funny things that I love to try to tie up pre-sem students about when it comes to confession and absolution is, why do we do confession and absolution on a weekly basis? What's the purpose? Like, aren't I already forgiven? And when I was forgiven, were all my sins forgiven? And they're like, yeah, okay, all your sins are forgiven. So which sins? My past sins? Yep. And then my present sins? Yep. And then all my future sins have already been forgiven? Yep. So why do we need confession and absolution? Remember, confession and absolution is not for the purpose of God. He's not up there surprised, like, oh my gosh, what did you just do today? Like, why did you say that? Or why did you act like that? Or why did you berate that person? Or why are you thinking those thoughts? He's not up there going, this is really kind of shocking. He's like, yes, those sins are forgiven. And what you need to do is constantly be coming back to God and saying, God, I need some help still. I'm clean. I know that I am your child. I am forgiven, but I need you. I need you to keep forgiving my sins, not because it's for you, but it's for me. It's to remind me that I'm washed, I'm clean, and I am your child. And this is where it starts getting really hard for the rest of us, because we already know, you should know the answer to this question. Did Jesus wash Judas's feet? Yes. The reason I know that, he shows up in the next couple chapters. Judas is still around. So think on that for just a moment. Jesus already knows what Judas is going to do. And he lovingly grabs that sandal and pulls it off. I don't know if Judas starts to sweat at this point. Does Jesus know what's about to happen? If he doesn't believe he's fully the Messiah, then maybe he thinks he can get away with it. Even if he did believe that he knew everything about it, we still love to sell ourselves the really ridiculous idea that we can somehow hide it from God. And as he's washing his feet, I wonder how it was when Jesus looked up after being on the ground, on his knees, washing Judas's feet. And you wonder, how is Judas feeling? And then asking the question, how did Jesus even do that? Think of someone who's betrayed you. Someone who stabbed you in the back. Someone who's maybe ruined your life. And then think about serving them. Who here is excited for that prospect? None of us. That's hard. That's a trust thing, yeah. And if we say there are people in this world we will not serve and love, what you are saying is you are superior to Jesus Christ. Last time I checked, again, that's probably a bad idea, right? It's not a good path to go down. Jesus knelt down and washed Peter's feet. He washed Judas's feet. He washed the feet of the disciples who in a few hours are all going to run scared and not stand by their rabbi, their teacher, the Messiah. Jesus is washing their feet. So if you really want to push this to the farthest degree, that's where finding someone in your life who has betrayed you to the nth degree, and what is something you can do that would be of service to them. That's the challenge. Now, I'm not going to say, I don't believe that we're all going to be able to do that, but that's the standard Jesus sets. It's a standard Jesus says, I want to wash all of you. But he also knows that not everyone is going to be clean, right? And again, I don't know if that's when he was washing Judas's feet. I say this to you so that you're clean, but not all of you are clean, because he knew that Judas was going to betray him. And here's where it gets really difficult. Yeah, and it's really interesting because Peter's the same way, right? Judas gets a bad rap, and I get it. Jesus said, it would be better if this man had not been born. So, that's bad for Judas. But as I've said many a times, yes, Judas and Peter committed the exact same sin. But Judas was not a part of Jesus' life. Judas had witnessed everything. He saw everything. He was there when the loaves and the bread got multiplied. He was there when the water turned into wine. He was there when Lazarus came out of the tomb. And you're thinking to yourself, if you saw all that, wouldn't that make you a believer? And not for Judas. He still said no. He had the great face. He had the great concept. People liked him. People had no idea. Like, it's really interesting. A little bit later on, we know that Judas is still there because the whole dipping the bread into the thing. And then he leans in and says, Judas, what you're about to do it quickly. Judas gets up and leaves. And what do all the disciples say? Well, good riddance to that slime ball. He was problem from the beginning. No, they're like, I wonder if he's going to go buy some more bread for the feast and, I don't know, or maybe get something for the poor. Like, Judas is the good guy. Everyone, that's what they believed. His outward demeanor to everyone was, look how good I am. And yet, he had no part in Jesus Christ. You can come to church all you want. I think coming to church and hearing God's word is important. But if you believe that by coming to church you are somehow saved, you are extremely mistaken. If you believe that you have Scripture memorized, and all you have to do is say it and then you're saved, you are extremely mistaken. Being a part of the covenant relationship with God says, Jesus Christ has cleansed me and saved me. And what that means now is that my life is being ruled and reigned by Jesus. It's not ruled by my thoughts, my desires, my wishes, my hopes and dreams. No, my thoughts, everything, my future is all ruled by Jesus. And that was the two different viewpoints between Judas and Peter. Judas thought he could just do things by himself. He could show how great he is. And once he tried to show how great he was, then when he fell so badly, he realized if my salvation is based upon the good things that I do, then it's also based on how badly I mess up. So I'm now outside the covenant relationship with God, and so I'm going to go and kill myself. And that's what he did. Peter was clean. Jesus says it specific. Peter, you are clean. You just need some foot washing. You're going to have some problems. And he'll get to that in a couple of chapters when he says about what he's going to do to deny him. But Peter and Judas, same people. The difference between the two is one is saved and one is not saved. On outward appearances, they look sure enough the same. So again, for us, if your salvation is based upon how good of a person you are not that good. I promise you. Your righteousness would have to bypass and be superior to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, to the religious zealots of the day. You'd have to be better than them. In fact, again, what Jesus says, all you have to do is be perfect and then you're in. That's the bar. But if we are washed and we are clean, if we have received forgiveness because of our faith in Jesus Christ, we've been washed in the waters of baptism, then you are saved and you are clean. So then, verse 12, when he had finished washing their feet, he put on his clothes and returned to his place. Do you understand what I have done for you? He asked them. It doesn't say it in the text, but I would put in insert long pause here and awkward silence because Peter spoke up and he was wrong the entire time. Right? It's like when someone's pastor or teacher is doing stuff and the one kid keeps raising their hand and they're wrong. It makes the rest of us go, I don't think we should ask any questions. So I think they're all like pulling back and they're like, I don't know if we should say anything. But this is what he says. You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet. So you can't get around it. Jesus said it. That's going to be the end of the discussion. Are we supposed to be people that look at others and say, you are not worthy to be served? I think there's plenty of times that we say, I don't know if I need to clean up after that person. I don't know if I should help this person. I don't know if I should, because they are beneath me. They are not worthy of my time and my energy and my efforts. And we always got to remember that Jesus said, wash their feet. Love everyone. We are not out from under that command. I have set you an example that you should do as I have done for you. Verse 16, I tell you the truth. No servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. Now that you know these things, you will be blessed if you do them. Question, have you ever, I know I have this, and I've mentioned it several times, but so I'm just putting it back on you. Have there ever been a time when you were about to go do some sort of service or some sort of servant activity, and you think to yourselves, I just don't really want to go, right? Happens to me all the time. Every Sunday morning. I'm like, I'm just kidding. Got to lighten the mood every now and then. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to go and do this, but then every time you serve, do you walk away better than when you came? Absolutely. It's, again, why we don't think that way, I don't know. And again, it doesn't matter how bad it is. Was that stuff in the bathroom that we cleaned up some of the worst stuff I'd ever done? Yeah, but I know people who've done worse. I've heard trips that Concordia's taken overseas, and one of the places they go to is India. And where do they go? Do they go to the Mother Teresa house? Were you at Mother Teresa house, David? No? Okay. And they tell the stories because the people that are in the Mother Teresa house are all the disabled people. All of them. And they might be physically disabled, mentally disabled, and they have no social services. And all of these people need to be bathed, cleaned, fed, and I hear of the stench and the foulness of everything. And all Mother Teresa kept saying is, this is who we serve, the least. Because Jesus washed Judas's feet. And so we then serve. And then we're also called to forgive. Because isn't it true? How hard is it to actually serve someone who maybe betrayed you? There's going to be a part of you that's going to now finally say, I need to find a way to not harbor that hatred anymore. I need to find that forgiveness. Do you see how foot washing and forgiveness? And Jesus says, I command you to do this. And careful. You know what? We'll say it today because, sometimes I like to say the Lord's Prayer. Sometimes I think we don't think through it. But again, it's the one line in the Lord's Prayer that I absolutely despise because I've got to be very careful when I pray it. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. So again, when you pray that prayer, what you're saying is, Lord, I want you to forgive me as much as I have forgiven my worst enemy. Oh, I don't know if I want to do that. That doesn't sound like fun. No, it doesn't. But he commands us because he's reminding us that no matter how great that sin, the forgiveness and the grace of God is even deeper. And let me tell you, that's super important for you. Because some of you think that you're dirty. Some of you think that you are unclean. Some of you think that because of what other people have done to you or things that you have done has now put you outside of the boundary and you're outside the gates of grace. And so you say, I am unclean. And Jesus says, I want to come and wash you. And I want to forgive you. And so many times we're like Peter, like, no, get away. No, let him come. Let him wash you. Let the forgiveness of sins wash over your past. Let the guilt and the shame melt away. Let all of that go. Jesus, he's washed you and cleans you. And he wants to wash your feet now and take away your shame and the stuff that keeps you from experiencing the full grace of God. I wrote it in my Bible. I didn't really notice it till just now, so I think it's interesting. I think we should definitely do this, where I'm sure someone else smarter than me came up with this phrase, but I liked it so much I wrote it. We need to be people of the towel. We need to be people who will wash the feet of our enemies to show grace and forgiveness. We need to be people of the towel who will forgive others of how they've wronged us. And then we also need to be allowing Jesus to do the same for us. So who's the person that maybe you need to serve this week? The person that's you don't really like. The person that you're at odds with. Maybe it's time to serve them. And I pray that not all of you run up to me and start serving me immediately because of that. Let's pray.